Hello, this is Shinobi Bench. Today, I'd like to introduce the exercises I focused on when I hit a 130 kilogram bench press. By the way, I still include these exercises depending on the situation as I aim for 160 kilograms. I hit 130 kilograms about 8 months after hitting 120 kilograms, and that was around 2 years and 2 months after I started bench pressing. Currently, I've reached 155 kilograms and am working toward 160 kilograms. During this time, I had a setback after hitting 120 kilograms where I injured my elbow and my max dropped to around 112.5 kilograms. Progress beyond 120 kilograms stalled for a while and it was a really tough period. Even though I reached 127.5 kilograms just before 130 kilograms, there was a time when I couldn't even hit 125 kilograms and 120 kilograms started to feel shaky again. After a lot of trial and error, I finally managed to bench 130 kilograms, and today I'd like to share the exercises that I found most effective during that time. This time, I'll introduce 2 bench press variations and 2 general training movements. First up is the feet up bench press. This is a classic variation of the bench press. As the name suggests, it's a bench press done with your feet raised, and I really committed to it. There was even a period of about a month when I was dealing with a knee injury and made this my main bench press variation. During that time, all my top singles and sets were done with feet up. In terms of variations, I did the basic feet up version with knees bent, the para bench with legs extended straight, and the Larsen press, where you let your legs dangle freely. Grip width was the same as my regular bench press. The benefits I felt were improved bottom strength, better balance, better control when lowering the bar. Since you can't use your legs during the feet up bench, the bottom position tends to be lower than in a regular bench press, resulting in a larger range of motion. This increases the demand on the muscles at the bottom of the lift. The effects take time to show, but I came to realize that it's essential for steady strength gains. Next is the improvement in balance. Because you're not using your legs, it's harder to stabilize front to back and side to side. When your feet are planted, you can compensate with your legs, even if the bar drifts slightly. But with feet up, it's hard to correct any bar path deviation, and this increases shoulder strain. In my case, if the bar drifts downward, my AC joint tends to hurt. So I focused on keeping that from happening during reps, and over time, this reduced bar path instability. Also, if there are left-right imbalances, the bar will wobble, so you're forced to correct them through practice. What you normally compensate for using your legs in regular bench press, you now have to correct using your upper body, especially the back. This means you're using muscles you may not have previously engaged much, like the trapezius, lats, spinal erectors, and the full range of rotator cuff muscles. That includes smaller muscles like the supraspinatus, infraspinatus, subscapularis, teres minor, and serratus anterior. Improved technique, greater stability, and better control when lowering the bar all help create a more stable movement when returning to the power bench form. I believe that only from stable movement can you generate high output. So, for me, form stability is the most important factor in increasing bench press strength. I believe enhancing coordination with leg drive and other techniques should come after you've mastered stable movement and output. The second exercise is the hips up bench press, aka butt lift bench. This is also a bench press variation. With this movement, you perform the press without keeping your butt on the bench, driving through your legs instead. This raises the bridge slightly. A higher bridge reduces the range of motion, allowing you to handle more weight than in the regular bench. As a result, you can lift heavier weights that you normally couldn't in regular bench press, which helps with unracking strength, top-end strength, and neural adaptations. Personally, I especially felt it helped with top-end strength. I've always struggled more at the top than the bottom, so this was a key focus area. What surprised me was how much the pecs were still activated, even though the range of motion was shorter. That's probably because I was lifting heavier loads. I used to think the triceps were more involved than the pecs in the top range of the bench press, but when I paid close attention, I realized that the pecs, especially the sternal portion, are at maximum contraction when the scapulae are retracted. This area got an intense stimulus. At the time, my power form max was around 125 kilograms, and I was doing sets of 5 reps for 10 sets at that weight in hips up bench. In terms of top singles, While my max was 125 kilograms, I was able to hit 142.5 kilograms in hips up bench. Right now, my current max is 155 kilograms, and my hips up bench max is 170 kilograms. Some people say hips up bench isn't effective for chest training because the range of motion is too small due to the high arch. But I don't think that's true. Unless your arch is so extreme that the bar only travels a few centimeters, which very few people can achieve unless they have an extremely flexible thoracic spine or unusually short arms, the chest will actually rise more, increasing the pec stretch. So there's no need to worry too much about that. Now, moving on to the general training movements. The third is the overhead press. I do both seated and standing. The purpose is pretty straightforward. I figured I'd get stronger by pressing in multiple directions. That's also why I've included the fourth exercise, dips. I often go into great detail in my videos, but honestly, for training, I sometimes feel this simple approach is best. If you get stronger at pushing and pulling, your overall strength improves. It's that simple. To go into a bit more detail, both of these movements help stabilize the bench press motion and strengthen the rotator cuff, which protects the shoulder joint. The rotator cuff is the group of small muscles inside the shoulder. In addition to delts and traps, it includes deeper muscles like those under the scapula or attached to the ribs. Overhead presses help with upward pressing strength, which can prevent the bar from drifting downward during bench press. Conversely, dips strengthen the pushing force downward, which helps prevent the bar from drifting upward, leading to what's often called elbows out bench. When you reduce drift both upward and downward, the entire bench press movement becomes more stable. These improvements likely come from strengthening the shoulder region as a whole, including the rotator cuff and other surrounding muscles. Overhead pressing includes scapular upward rotation, reaching overhead, which bench press lacks, so it helps balance out muscle development. It also strengthens the traps and triceps, which assist during bench pressing. As for dips, they strengthen the serratus anterior and the rotator cuff, but what I particularly value is the peak pec contraction at the end of the dip when you tuck your chest and let the shoulders come forward. This allows for an intense pec contraction under heavy loads, something you can't easily replicate in the bench press. That's why I highly value dips. As I mentioned earlier during the hips up bench section, my weak point is the top end of the bench press. I believe the cause is poor contraction of the pecs in a chest up position. To address that, I include dips with a focus on heavy loads and contraction, and I believe they've been effective. There is a chest up version of dips too, but since the movement is too similar to bench pressing, I prefer the tucked chest style, which I'm more used to. Back when I did gymnastics, I used this tucked position on the parallel bars all the time. So, those were the four exercises: feet up bench, hips up bench, overhead press, and dips. I'll go into more detail on each in future videos. If you'd like to see that, please leave a request, and I'll do my best to release them soon. That's all for today. If you found this video helpful or want to support me, I'd really appreciate it if you could like the video and subscribe to the channel. Let's all keep working hard on the bench press together. See you next time. Bye.